Your Fighting Illini are officially bowl eligible. Locked On Illini. Let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What did I say last week? Last week, I came on here after giving up 49 points. I guess that was a couple weeks ago in that Purdue game. And I said a win is a win is a win. That every football team is allowed to have a bad football game. And just because we may be accustomed to something in a certain way as Illinois fans doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. I'm hyped. Let me know in the chat. I want the chat full of W's. Full of W's. Because Illinois just defeated the national champion Michigan Wolverines. And you know what? They didn't play a great game. Illinois played a okay game. And yet still, they won 21-7. Before I get started, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Again, I'm doing this every single game. So if you're jumping in for the first time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Illinois content for you guys every single day. By the way, I just finished interviewing Kevin Sweeney, and the things he had to say about this basketball team, trust me, I want to release the episode. I may just do it tomorrow because it's going to get all of us hyped up. But today belongs to the football team. Today belongs to Brett Bielema. 21-7. Who would have guessed that Illinois would outrush the Michigan Wolverines? 187-114. We played a B- game, and we are now 6-1. My everydayers in here, by the way, let the chat know who watches every single day. You guys know, in the offseason, my bold prediction was that Illinois would defeat Michigan in this very game. So I guess I can't brag, but no, I'm absolutely going to be happy about it. It's funny. I went on, obviously, Michigan has a huge fan base, and I did my rounds, and my predicted final score on one of the shows was 20-13 Illinois, and the Michigan host scoffed. He said 13 points. That's insulting. You're right. Gave him too much credit. Score one for Aaron Henry. Outside one really poor drive late in the first half where Michigan drove and was able to score. He called a great game. How does a national champion have a quarterback that bad? Is that Michigan's quarterback room as bad as we had it a couple of years back in the Lovie era? Luke Altmaier, 9 for 18, 80 yards, and yet we win this game. If I had told you with Michigan's porous defensive backfield that Luke Altmaier would go for 9 for 18 for 80 yards, do you think we would have won that game? No chance. Jack Tuttle threw for almost 3 times amount of yards as Luke Altmaier did. But this team is just super well coached, and they believe in themselves. I said it last week that what we were showing on offense didn't seem like we were letting it all out there. And I wondered then if a lot of it had to do with us saving some of that playbook for this game and the week after. And what happens? A trick, a fake punt. Tanner Arkin, who, by the way, who saw him becoming a pass catcher coming? One of the unfortunate parts of the offseason is when Cole Russ got hurt. I was like, dang, we missed out on our pass catching tight end. Tanner Arkin's becoming that guy. How many games in a row has he had a touchdown? I feel like the chat today is going to be a lot more positive than it was last week, even though a win is a win is a win. Bowl game, 6-1. Who thought we'd be 6-1 at this point? And it's not even just bowl game. I know some of you don't like it that I say this, but we may have higher aspirations now. We are not going to be favored next week, but we're going to be favored every game after that. Owen says, great team win today. Eric says, congratulations, you beat the most poorly coached team in Michigan football history. Eric, a win is a win is a win. Say it with me, chat. I'm not apologizing for winning. I said the same thing last week when Illinois gave up 43 points in the second half. At this point, with this season, with our program, all that matters is us getting that W. Guess what? 7 games in, Illinois has passed the Vegas over-under total. 5.5. 7 games in. We're already at 6. We're playing with house money right now. Philip says, Purdue was a look-ahead game. Philip, I don't think Purdue was a look-ahead game. I just think bad football happens. College football is hard. College football is weird. Anyone see the final score of that Oklahoma game today? It happens. And the randomness of college football combined with a rivalry game, sometimes it happens. Marcellus, thank you for jumping back on 6-1. How is everyone feeling now? Exactly. I want to hear exactly how you guys are feeling. I want to hear. Because I was optimistic on this team at 7 wins in the offseason. This is the second time in 3 years we're 6-1. And this is a team that I didn't think was capable of a 6-1 team. We've got one more game left of the most difficult portion of our schedule. That daunting October schedule that we had. Against Penn State, we're down 1 score with 2 minutes left. Lost a game in Happy Valley in one of the craziest crowd situations in all of college football. Rivalry game against Purdue, we came out victorious. Michigan, the defending national champion. And I'm not hearing any excuses. I don't care about their quarterback play. I don't care about whether Sharon Moore is a good coach or not. A win is a win is a win. Philip says, Illinois, better coach, better QB than Michigan. There's no one that can argue that at this point. I've got some questions about Sharon Moore, and I'm definitely going to be talking to my Michigan friends about this. I don't know if he's it. And again, not that I'm taking any victory laps, but over the offseason, I could not understand how Sharon Moore was ahead of Brett Bielema in head coach rankings for a lot of these content creators. It boggled my mind for this guy, just because he won a couple games last year, even though Jim Harbaugh is coaching the team basically from Sunday to Friday. Malcolm says the defense was great. The defense was great, aided by a poor offense. That Michigan team, we couldn't stop Mullings. What did Mullings ultimately go for? 19 for 87. Actually, you know what? Even that isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought he was a lock for plus 100 or over 100. Donovan Edwards, 7 for 38. The key is, and I said this on this show, and I said this on every other show I went on, make Michigan throw the ball. Get up early. Give them no choice. I told you guys earlier, 9 for 18 for Luke Altmaier, 80 yards. If you had known that line before the game started, we all would have been sad. Oh, we lost that game for sure. But you know why we won the game? Jack Tuttle, 20 for 32. We made Jack Tuttle, who, quite honestly, is one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen this year, throw the ball 32 times. Michigan had no choice. Philip says, ILL. Jason says, let's go, Sunny. You called this win prior to the year. All those haters, please sit down. Jason, you know. I just knew that campus would be electric. And by the way, if you guys went to this game, let me know also. I'm so jealous I wasn't able to go. I had a big move in life. And so I've got to be a little conservative with certain things. I'm going to the Northwestern game. If any of you guys are going to Northwestern, let me know. We'll definitely meet up for that. Philip says, where does Illinois get ranked after this win? Honestly, I don't know because the day's not over yet, right? We got to see where these guys ahead of us go down. I hope we're a top 20 team at this point. I think we're going to be close. Malcolm says, Michigan also outpassed in yardage in Illinois. You look at this box score. We knew we can't defend the tight end. And you know what? Colson Loveland had 7 catches for 83 yards. He had a good game. We just couldn't contain him. This is the receiving yardage for our wide receivers. Pat Bryant, 4 for 32. Zachary Franklin, 2 for 26. Hank Beatty, 1 for 11. Colin Dixon, 1 for 9. Tanner Arkin, 1 for 2. We won the game. Why'd we win the game? Because Illinois outrushed Michigan. Let's go to the rushing. Aiden Lofrey, 9 carries for 54 yards in his best game this year. Josh McCray, 17 for 50. Luke Altmaier, 10 for 48. Luke Altmaier almost won that game with his legs. Tanner Arkin, 1 for 36. Pat Bryant, 1 for -1. I want more of your comments right after this break. I also want to know right now, what's your prediction on season wins? Has it changed? 6-1. A lot of us, let's be honest, a lot of us probably had less than 6. I heard a lot of 5s in the offseason when I asked. We're now at 6 wins already, right? 6 wins already. We've got a couple tough games at Oregon next week, sure, and we're playing at Oregon. That's not going to be easy, but take a look at that schedule after that. Rutgers, who I believe I had as a loss in the preseason, is not looking very good right now. Granted, that game is in New Jersey, but certainly winnable. Jason says, everyday guys. Michael says, this team is top-notch, great at takeaways, good defense overall, great rushing offense, big game. It's a stupid simulation football game. So I like this point by Malcolm. Let me know what you guys thought of these uniforms, because I loved it. I get nostalgic about these sort of things, and Twitter was 50-50 on whether you liked these jerseys or not. I thought they were fantastic. Malcolm says, 9 and 10 wins is very realistic. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at the remaining schedule. And again, we don't have to make predictions or anything like that right now. But where's it? Okay. Oregon next week. Then after that, we have Minnesota at home. We have Michigan State at home. Then we have Rutgers away and Northwestern away being Wrigley Field. Let me know. We're at 6 wins now. 1, 2, 3, 5 games remaining. Minnesota and Michigan State at home. Key word right there. We're at the point where if we finish the season with 7 wins, which was my initial, optimistic prediction, we're going to be disappointed. Now, granted, we can't get too high on this. We were, 7-1 a couple years ago and finished 8-5. We can't let that happen again. But I don't know. The schedule, we're not making the same mistakes that we made in the past. That year and last year, if the game was close at the end, we would lose it. This team doesn't lose those games anymore. We win them. Look at just last week against Purdue. Overtime victory against Purdue. Overtime victory against Nebraska. We Anaconda squeezed Michigan today, and they could do nothing about it. So you're saying that Steven says, you're saying that they did try to do everything to beat Penn State. Yeah, Penn State just beat us. That's a tough environment. Again, I'm not ashamed of that loss. Think about it, guys. Again, I'm not trying to be. You know what? No, I am. I'm not trying to be level-headed here. This is the post-game show. This is where I just got to kind of have fun. You guys have fun. There's a road here for 10-2. This has potential to be a college football playoff team. Now, granted, we need Indiana to start losing. That was a beatdown that they put on Nebraska today, which shocked me. So they are legit good at this point. But if your only losses as Illinois is a close loss at Penn State during a whiteout, and maybe, let's just say, a loss at Oregon, who at that point might be undefeated at the end of the year, you're 10-2. How many other teams right now, and maybe the stat is updated, you guys let me know, how many teams have beaten 3 top 25 ranked teams so far this season? Because I know Illinois is one. How many others are there? I don't think there's that many. Jason says, let's also talk about the fake punt, arc, and run. Coach B is the man. I don't want to hear any more, you know what, about fire Coach B. Are you kidding me? I've said that. Brett Bielema is a perfect coach for Illinois football. He understands. He didn't try to take shortcuts. Is he perfect? No. But he rebuilt the culture here. Illinois was forgotten by the Illinois high school coaches. Lovie Smith stopped trying. Brett Bielema, the first thing he did on day one of being hired is he made 1,000 phone calls to all the local high schools to let them know things were going to be different. And you know what? Things are different. Are we recruiting at the level that we need to be? Maybe not. But we're developing. One more reminder. By the way, there's 51 people here. Please hit that like button for me. Hitting that like button now. Other Illini fans who are on YouTube, they're going to be able to see this on the stream, and they can be introduced to Locked On Illini. Remember, it costs you guys nothing. I don't ask for anything. All I ask is hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, especially if you're here watching for the first time. But I'm losing my own train of thought. Philip says, with Illinois current wins, 10-2 record could get Illinois one of the last playoff stops. Exactly. Yeah, I got to catch up on this. Hold on, let's go. Alton. Thanks for joining me, Alton. Go Illini. Exactly. Alton was nervous. And you know what? I was kind of nervous. I wish, let's be honest, we gave up points, right? I think Jeremy Warner had the perfect stat. We were within the 30-yard line in the first half 5 times, and we only came away with scores twice. This had the potential to be one of those classic Illinois losses. But again, things are different. It wasn't. They adjusted. We adjusted. Michigan had, 8-minute drives, 7-minute drives in that second half, and they couldn't come out with the score. Jason says, love the win. Let's see what this team is made of next week. Yes. I'm not going to think about next week. Oregon is a completely different level, a different tier. I'm going to sit, enjoy this victory now. Talk to you guys for another 10, 15 minutes, then watch that Texas-Georgia game a little bit later. Relax with a smile on my face. Jarek says, love the uniforms, fun game to watch. The defense brought it. Fake punt was perfect. Exactly. And trust me, they saved that fake punt for Michigan. It was by design. Steve said, feels so good to beat Michigan. Always is, any year for a long time. Exactly. And especially after that loss 2 years ago, that the loss that the referees gave them. A win is a win is a win. Thank you, William. A win is a win is a win. Spam Twitter with that. I said that last week. So you guys know I'm not changing. I believe this. I believe in this team. I'm emotional, sure, but I try to sit back and, for your guys' sake, not be emotional. Malcolm says, if you are the coach, Michigan, you automatically rank better even if you came in with a losing record. Not anymore. 3 losses. Great D. Everyone said Michigan is going to run all over us. You're exactly right, Joe. And I'll say it again. Illinois outrushed Michigan today. Let me see that box score again. Amazing. Marcel says, T. Edwards played himself into a late round draft pick, 2 sacks versus the best O-line in football. Is it? Because I wasn't that exactly impressed today. Maybe Illinois really did play that well, but that offensive line was okay. I don't know if it was all that special. Malcolm says, Illinois won because we are 100% a better team than Michigan. No doubt about it. We didn't play a good game, but we are the better team. We're not the most talented team. I think this is the point I was trying to say earlier. Keep in mind, even coming into this year, on the 24/7 talent rankings, Illinois was 18th in the Big Ten. 18th is literally last place in the Big Ten. We have the least amount of talent on that football field. And yet, guess what? Illinois football is 6-1 and bowl eligible. Gabe Jacques had his best game this year. Yeah, Gabe has been playing well, but he's really had nothing to show for it this year. And today was the game where he got to show for it. Clifford says the least points Michigan has scored in 10 years. Is that right? Wow. I mean, I just came on live immediately afterwards. I'm missing the post game and all that kind of stuff, the press conferences, but that would be an amazing stat. Jason says, win them all, get us to a potential playoff bid. That would be so crazy. Nobody I listened to in the offseason thought we would have 5 wins. Well, Jason, I had us at 7 wins, but you're right. Most people had 5. And, if you don't think I'm going to – you know what? I want everyone. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and tweet at Casual Big Ten, my good friend of the show, Kent, who had Illinois winning 2 games this year. Ask him how that prediction's coming along. 2 wins. We're now at 6 wins. I got to run another break. 1 second. All right. Jason says, win them all, get us a potential playoff bid. That would be so crazy. Oh, yeah. I did that one. No one thought we would be at 5 wins. Robert says, finish 8-4. That's all. I would be satisfied with 8-4, but I think right now at this point, 8-4 would be my worst case scenario. Like the least amount I would settle for. 8-4. That's where we're at. I keep hearing that the PlayStation game was never in doubt. That is complete. Yes. Matthew says, this erases bad taste from last week's win against Purdue. And bad football games happen, guys. That's what I keep trying to say. In the preview, game-by-game season, I basically said that, hey, Illinois is going to win games that they're not supposed to win, and they're going to lose games that they're not supposed to lose. And that Purdue game had all the makings of one of those games that we're supposed to win, but we end up losing. And that's what I was kind of chalking that up to. And that's why ultimately at the end, when we ended up pulling off the victory with the stop in overtime on a 2-point conversion, I understood a win is a win is a win. In the past years, we lose that game. I'm afraid Illinois is going to get blown out at Oregon. TM, who cares? It's fine. I mean, it's not fine. Don't get me wrong. It's not fine. But if we're 6-2 going after our tough schedule in October, 100% of us would have taken that. And if you're saying you wouldn't have, you're lying. I think we put up a fight against Oregon. Now, Oregon, I got to watch last night, and yeah, they're very, very good. And I don't expect that game to. I was just going to say, I'm curious what the spread is. Philip says I saw an early spread has Illinois plus 22.5. Probably sounds about right. I don't know where I lean on that spread right now. Again, I don't know if you guys noticed, for the second time, this happened against Nebraska as well. We were underdogs, and the spread kept going in the opposite direction. Michigan opened up as a 1.5-point favorite, and at least this morning was a 5-point favorite. Same thing happened against Nebraska. Nebraska, I think, was a 6.5-point favorite at open. Ultimately, at kickoff, ended up being a 9-point favorite. A lot of the money came in on the opposition. A lot of the common college football fans were betting in the opposite direction. Illinois still not respected. I hope today the story is how good Illinois is, but watch. The narrative is going to be how bad was Michigan's quarterback. Brett Bielema and this team continue to be overlooked. And you know what? That's okay. I wonder who Oregon plays 2 weeks from now. If you're able to check that, please let me know. Is there any way that Illinois could be a trap game for Oregon? Is there any way they would overlook this game to concentrate on whoever they play next? Because I don't think Illinois is going to beat Oregon. But in years past, I would have said there is no way Illinois would beat Oregon. Every single weekend, I come in thinking that Illinois can win this football game, no matter who we play. I thought that against Penn State, who I believe is like the number 9 team the number 4 team in the country. I believed it against Michigan. Those of you who know I called that in the offseason, that was one of my bold predictions, that Illinois would beat Michigan. And I think there's a path to beat Oregon next weekend. Not saying we will, saying we can. Philip helping me out says at Michigan after Illinois. Well, that Michigan game tape is not going to look good. So maybe they will focus a little bit more on the Illini. But again, I'm just kind of trying to recap. A 21-7 victory over Michigan, where Illinois, in particular offense, played fine, played okay. And we won by 2 scores. And let's be honest, how many points did we leave on the field? This was one of those games where the game wasn't really as close as the final score dictates. And oh, by the way, it was against the defending national champions. I'm not going to apologize if Michigan has quarterback issues or coaching issues. Why? Because we've been on that side for the past decade. Say it with me. A win is a win is a win. I will always celebrate a victory over the Michigan Wolverines. Clifford, I'm with you. I think they should stay with these uniforms. I wish, or just bring them out at least once every couple of years. Brett Bielema worked really hard with Nike, begging them for these special uniforms. This conversation started like 2 years ago. And, all credit to Nike for coming through with it. I think the whole presentation by CBS was fantastic. Guys, this game was on CBS. Everyone saw this game. All of the college football watched Illinois beat Michigan. Quite honestly, handedly, by not playing very well. Could this be the week that we start getting recognized? Right now, Indiana is getting all the gravity of the attention. And you know what? Fine. But they haven't played a game or a team like Penn State. Congrats on the victory against Nebraska. By the way, Illinois beat Nebraska in Lincoln. I wish Illinois and Indiana had a game this year. I really think, now don't get me wrong, Curtis Rourke might be the best quarterback in the conference. I've watched them 3 weeks in a row now, and he's just a very good and confident quarterback. But Nebraska kind of gave up in that second half today. Michigan starting a walk-on QB against Oregon. Yikes. Gregory, always enjoy you showing up. Great win today with a lot of possibly highly regarded high school recruits. Now, keep in mind, there was a lot of recruits there today, and there was a lot of recruits there last week, and there was a lot of recruits here against Kansas. These victories matter. That atmosphere matters. And the fact that we sold out today for the second time this year, the 77th time in Memorial Stadium history. Wait, Philip says Rourke got injured today. If that happened, oh boy. Okay, I did not know that. Michael says next week is also on CBS. Illinois football is on CBS on national television back-to-back weeks. And not just because of the other team. Illinois football. These networks have a choice. They make these selections, 13 days in advance. These networks are putting Illinois in their prime spots. This is why we need to be grateful. Brett Bielema has us going in the right direction. By the way, guess what? Luke Altmaier still has another year of college eligibility. It's unfortunate what happened to Caden Fagan, but the running back room is the room that I'm kind of least worried about. Who else held their breath? I think the most nervous I got today was when Dennis Briggs went down. Because if we lose him, he's been one of our most productive, if not the most productive, defensive linemen that we have. But sure enough, 10 minutes later, he was causing some I think he caused Tuttle to throw the ball away or something like that. I forget the exact play. I can't wait. Last week I talked about this, that I didn't want to watch the All-22, and so I pretty much passed on doing the positional grades this past week in my episodes. I can't wait to do today's. I can't wait to do. And guess what? These grades aren't going to be that high. Illinois played a B- game. The defense played an A game. But the offense really didn't show up all that much. I went over those wide receiver receiving yards earlier. Pat Bryant, 4 for 32. Zachary Franklin, 2 for 26. Hank Beatty, 1 for 11. Colin Dixon, 1 for 9. Tanner Arkin, 1 for 2. If we had seen nothing, simply just the box scores before this game started, and they just blacked out the final score of the game, every one of us thought we would have lost that game. We're a different team. We're a good football team. And I'm not going to apologize for it. A win is a win is a win. I think that's going to just about wrap it up for me today. Unless you guys got any more questions, comments. Again, I got a lot of good content coming for you guys. I got Kevin Sweeney on the show. Kevin Sweeney watched Illinois practice a couple weeks back, and he kind of set off a Twitter storm because he talked about how impressive Jacques Shonis looked. Trey White, he called out Ben Humrickhouse. And when you guys watch this interview, you guys are good. If you think you're hyped now for college basketball season, wait till you watch that. Amazing showing. Again, 68 people here, guys. Hit that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button for me. Most of you guys know a lot of familiar faces in this chat, and I appreciate that. Most of you guys know every single day I try to produce Illinois content for you guys. Not many people can say that. I don't think anyone can say that. But admittedly, it's a lot easier when your team is 6-1. A lot of folks are like, hey, at least we'll just wait till basketball season. That's when your Locked On Illini channel will really blow up. No, I didn't need to. You guys and the support of this community got us to 1,300 subs pretty much with just an off season. Keep in mind, we started in May when there was no sports to talk about. There's no games to talk about. And now we have one of the surprise teams in all of college football. Brett Bielema, at this point, is going to get attention for a potential coach of the year. And well-deserved, as he should. Oregon's going to be a tough tough game next week. No one's saying it isn't. But we're no longer at the point where there's no games that we can't win. I saw a stat that I really liked. By the way, who saw that spot? Anyone else think that, here we go again, when Michigan, Loveland went out at like the 49-yard line, and all of a sudden the referee gave him 4 yards on almost first down? That may have been the worst spot I've ever seen. And at that point, I was like, did the phone call come in from the Big Ten office? Are we doing this again? And that drive was pretty frustrating because, again, we constantly had them on third and long, and they keep converting. So, again, I was worried, but ultimately they could not. And that's what matters. We left a lot of points on the field there. But I mean this when I say this. I think today was a very solid, I wouldn't say dominant win, but there was clearly one side of football was better than the other. The defense over the offense. But at the same time, there's one team that, in my opinion, was clearly better than the other. And you know what? It wasn't the national champions. It was our line. All the credit in the world to Brett Bielema, Aaron Henry, Barry Lenny Jr. By the way, guys, Illinois today to score on their first possession, any points on their first possession was plus 205. If you guys like to gamble on sports, and again, this is not advice. If you're an Illinois fan, you know how successful we've been scoring on the first drive. Just something to keep an eye out for. I may have made a pretty penny on that one. And also, Luke Altmaier, 25 plus rush yards. I got plus 950 or something like that. Because I knew that we would need Luke's legs. I didn't have much faith in our running game. And guess what? I was wrong. We had, 5 running backs? 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs that got over, I guess Tanner Arkin isn't a running back, but 4 guys get over 35 yards rushing today. We just played very mistake-free football. That was the whole point. Sure, there was almost another pick 6 for Luke. And yeah, my heart may have stopped for a second there. But Luke is just such a he's got such a cool demeanor to him. He still to this time never looks phased. It's funny. I try to tell people, right? I was a big Luke guy last year. I was a big Luke guy over the offseason. Against my everydayers in here know I've been saying he's a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the conference all offseason long. Now it may not seem like a crazy thought, but when I was saying it, people were laughing at me. And I talk about like how well he played. And I want to point out, hey, look at today. We won this game on a large part of Luke Altmaier. But then you look at his box line, 9 for 18, 80 yards, and a touchdown. 10 carries for 48 yards. It doesn't jump out at you. But that doesn't mean that Illinois fans don't understand his worth. I said, I think he's the best quarterback we've had in what's the timeline here? Almost 20 years, if not more. We've had other good quarterbacks, but Luke is just, and it doesn't always have to show up in the box score. That touchdown that he had where he snuck it in, lost his helmet. You saw him stick his tongue out. I'm sure that's going to get all giphy on the internet. Phil says Gabe Jack has played well today. Best game of the year. No doubt about it. The spot was egregious. And Philip says, let ref trying to help Michigan. Very normal. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was way too blatant. The helmets were sick. I loved them. I need to find a way to get one of those jerseys. It's been a while since I bought an Illinois jersey. 77 people here in the chat. I appreciate all of you. Let me know your thoughts. What else do you guys want to talk about? This is the mood, Frank. Inject this game into my veins. What a night. I get to sit back. We all get to sit back and just watch Texas and Georgia or whatever game you want to watch on football because we know our team already won. we can go ahead and make bowl trip plans because we know our team is going to be going bowling this year. And that's all we wanted, right? That was the main goal this season, is to let's go to a bowl game. Guess what? We did that 7 games in. It's a good time to be an Illini fan. It's a good time to be an Illinois football fan. It's a good time to be an Illinois basketball fan. Times are good. And again, thank you, Marcellus. Exactly. Above all else, we are bowling. A win is a win is a win. Infinite Soul, thanks for coming back. The Illini are 6-1 in October, bowl eligible, and we have a chance to shock college football world next week. It's a great day to be an Illini fan. Thank you. Exactly. Nobody thinks we're going to win next week. That's the best part. This team is 6-1, is confident, and guess what? They get to show up next week at Oregon with not a single person thinking they're going to win, including most of us. Let's be honest. If you think we're going to win this game, let me know in that chat. I love that confidence. Hit that like button if you think we're going to win this game against Oregon. But I feel like that's what Brett thrives on, right? Being that underdog role. And when you're 6-1, at some point, you can only have that underdog role for so long. Once I got to run another commercial. It's hard to be, hey, we're 6-1, but nobody believes in us. But the funny thing is that's kind of the story of the season, even now. Illinois 6-1, but we get 0 press, 0 pub. In the beginning of the year, it was Indiana and Rutgers being undefeated. Even now, of course, the story is going to be Indiana thrashing Nebraska. And again, that was an impressive victory. Don't get me wrong. But we get to go into Eugene next weekend with not a single ounce of pressure on Illinois to win that football game. We just show up and play football. That's all we got to do. The guys on the other side of the field are going to be a lot more talented. There's going to be a lot of 5 stars and 4 stars. But you know what? That no longer matters. That no longer decides what happens in Illinois football games. Because Illinois will come in prepared. Illinois may not win, but I don't think that we'll embarrass ourselves. Marcel says it. House money. Philip, a good point. Been a couple games since Xavier Scott got a pick. He's due. Dylan Gabriel going to throw him one. You're right. And I'm so happy for Miles Scott. Was it Miles Scott who got the interception, ran it back, and then got called back, but then he was able to recover the fumble just like 2 plays later? And I like this question by Frank. And I want to hear all of your guys. I'll give you mine, but I want to hear all of yours as well. Frank says, what is your immediate, unrealistic reaction to where this program could grow to be? You said unrealistic. I'm just going to change that and just be realistic about it. Brett Bielema has another 10, 15 years of coaching ahead of him. He doesn't seem to have lost the passion for it at all. The guy, I've always said it for the past couple of years, success or not, he's one of the 15 best coaches in all of college football. And Illinois is lucky that we have him. Josh Whitman could have gone in a lot of different directions. And if he had listened to me, he would have. But what's Kansas' record right now? 1-4, 1-5 or something like that? I don't know if they've played today. Brett Bielema was the right guy. And he's got this team to exactly where we wanted them to be when we hired him. So if he's got us where we wanted to be after, let's just say, year 4, where are we after year 8? Let's be honest. In the college football world, you're going to have Ohio State, Penn State, probably USC, Michigan. Am I missing anyone? Those teams are just in a different tier, right? Just because of the resources that they have, the history that they have. So let's just say the top 4 kind of remain the top 4 just because of just because sometimes college football doesn't change that much. Big Doug says KU stomped Houston, so they're 2-5. But I absolutely think Illinois can basically be in that second tier. You know, we can battle annually for a college football playoff spot. It's not like Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC are going to have great years every single year, especially if this college football playoff continues to expand. You know, I think the Big Ten is going to have 4 spots pretty much every single year. And so even if 3 of them are locked up, I think Illinois can legit be in the conversation for that last spot consistently. I think we can be a program, especially if we can just, you know, I've said this before, if we can just recruit a little more high-end guys on our team. And I think weekends like this, when we have big recruiting wins and we beat a team like Michigan in front of a sold-out field, that's going to matter to recruits. If we're able to get in more 4 stars and 5 stars, and those guys get coached up the way these 3 stars are getting coached up, I think we can win 9 games every year. But that's not even the most important part. And tell me if you agree with this. In 2031, I believe it's 2031, it might be 2030, the Big Ten media contracts expire. And the year after, the SEC media deal expires. That's a date everyone has circled. That's a date where all of a sudden you can see some sort of weird college football apocalypse happening. And you see the super leagues being discussed. What we want to do is be a good football program at that point. Some of you may disagree, but I want Illinois always playing at the highest level that they possibly can. Years back, you know, some of my friends, some of my buddies that I went to school with would be like, yeah, I mean, if we played in the MAC, at least we would win 10 games every year, blah, blah. No, that's not what we want. I get it. We're being stomped and winning 3-4 games of the Big Ten, but I always believe that as long as we hired the right guy at some point, which we have now done, we can compete with anybody. Northwestern is our only in-state rival. And their fan base, let's just be honest, is apathetic. They just don't care nearly as much. Purdue has to deal with Indiana and Notre Dame in their state. Iowa has to deal with Iowa State, another good football program. Illinois can lock down Illinois as long as we can lock down Illinois. And I'm not talking we're going to get the high-end talent. You know, there's a lot of these other premier schools recruit out of Illinois. But as long as we can get 1 or 2 extra top 10, top 15 Illinois guys on our football team, you tell me, where is the ceiling for this program? There's those Big Ten champions contending for a national title. Go Illini. Why not? Why not? Big Dog says Michigan might be down bad without Harbaugh. Yeah, you know what? How many times would you say that you'd rather be Illinois right now than Michigan? I'm not saying long term, but would you trade our current situation with theirs? Would anyone, like, at what point in history would that be the case? That you as an Illinois fan would be like, no, I'm actually happier with Illinois' situation than Michigan. And again, don't take this out of context, folks. I get Michigan's Michigan. But today, against Michigan, Illinois won 21-7, and quite honestly, had a very impressive win, despite not playing impressively. It's a good time to be an Illini fan. Red Grain Spirit, says Thomas Brooks. I love the uniforms. I loved everything about them. I wish we can go back to them. I don't think we can. I don't know what kind of deal we have with Nike, but let's just make this an annual tradition. Let's just celebrate the Red Grange 101 year anniversary. I know it was a Memorial Day Stadium 100 year anniversary, not the Red Grange. But as my friend Jackson Johnson pointed out, yesterday, October 18th, was the day that Red Grange had his 4 touchdowns in the first 12 minutes, 6 ultimately in the entire game. So let's just celebrate Red Grange Day every single year and wear those jerseys. Who says no to that? How can you say no to that? And again, how good was that presentation by CBS today? You know, where they would change the look of the film to make it look like this game was being filmed back in the 1920s. I loved it. I ate it all up. ETN says, we might make the playoff. It could happen. You guys didn't like me saying that earlier, and I'm not even saying that it will, but all I said was it was a possibility that if we could beat Michigan, the Michigan game was the key one because I knew we would be underdogs. But at that point, we'd be 6-1, and now we're looking at the potential of only having 2 losses this year, Oregon and Michigan, or Oregon and Penn State. And I just knew that people would make note, and sometimes that's what it takes. Illinois can get noticed. Any team will get noticed if they have a victory over a team like Michigan. And again, my hope, and let's pay attention to this, is the story going to be Illinois' victory over Michigan, or is the story going to be Michigan's quarterback play being poor? I don't know. I can't wait. I'm going to have a lot of content for you guys all week long. I promise. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, hit the notification button. I may go live again tomorrow. I may go live. Also, follow me at IlliniCast in case later on I might just go live. Some of you found me on that channel originally before I got this position with Locked On. I may go live again later. Sit back, relax. Who wants to watch that Texas-Georgia game together? Either way, appreciate all of you. Again, thank you so much for making this one of the fastest growing channels that Locked On has ever had. They just underestimated just how passionate of a fan base that Illinois has. And you guys are helping me prove to them that they should have done this a long time ago. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful that they waited as long as they did, and they offered me this opportunity. But continue to tune in. I promise I will have Illinois content for you guys every single day that I can, every single day that I'm available. And now we have college basketball season coming on. It's good. It's a fun time being a Illini fan. And I'm telling you, it's a fun time to be a Locked On Illini fan. Find me on your favorite social medias, Locked On Illini. Send me a message. Twitter, same thing. Send me a message. Let me know what you guys want to see. The show is my show, but you can help me produce the show. That's it for now. ILL. Love you guys. Illinois is bowl eligible. Illinois beat Michigan. Let's do that again. ILL. Love you guys.